everybody, welcome back to the channel, and on this special documentary episode of Exploring Worlds, we are going to be diving into a subject matter that I've been wanting to bring forward for quite a long time on this platform as well as in a documentary in general. Thalassophobia. You may have heard of it, you may not have. And what this refers to is a constant and persistent fear of the sea. Now, when I was a kid, growing up in Gibson's small town on the Sunshine Coast of British Columbia, Canada, I was always in the water. In fact, sometimes I'd be in the water back and forth all day, and I'd love to see how deep down I could swim and how far out I could go. I even learned to free dive as I got older. So you might think that somebody who spent that much time in the water from such a young age would have no fear of the sea, no fear of the water whatsoever. Though that's wrong. I have always been terrified of the sea, and it fills me with dread almost every time I step into it. Though it's a fear that I find fascinating, and it's one that always drew me back and always draws me back for more. It's a sense of fear, of dread, yet fascination at the same time, and one that always makes you feel a little better once you've gone through, once you've done it, and yet can be very terrifying in the moment. And I think that this phobia is in a lot of people who might have not even heard of it before, or might have not necessarily known, have always had a fear of the sea, but not necessarily known the reasons why, or the term thalassophobia itself. And in this documentary, hopefully, you and I will learn a few reasons why. Another phobia that deserves a mention in this documentary is one known as SubMechanophobia. Now, this is a phobia of submerged or partially submerged man-made objects. Now, this is one that always personally affected me to this day, and as a kid, when I would see the pillars of a wharf going down into the water, or the hull of a boat from below the surface, or something man-made sunken underwater, always gave me a certain eerie, uneasy type feeling. Now, this is one that many who suffer from thalassophobia also suffer from SubMechanophobia. It can also be a phobia that is suffered all on its own, though it is a phobia in which is very similar to thalassophobia and is most certainly worth a mention. Now, when it comes to SubMechanophobia, the most eerie thing that comes to my mind is the wreck of the RMS Titanic sitting at the bottom of the deep Atlantic Ocean in the late hours on the night of April 14th, 1912. The Titanic struck an iceberg and sunk below the waves. 1,500 souls perished in the disaster, and only 705 survived. For those who suffer from SubMechanophobia, thalassophobia, or both, the story of this disaster can be an anxiety-inducing one. From the 1,500 souls who perished at sea, to the wreck of the Titanic sitting at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, to the grand and luxurious ship sinking below the waves. One more phobia to mention in this documentary is one called Bathophobia. Now, this is the fear of depth. Things that are deep or give the perception of being deep. This phobia can be triggered by large, deep bodies of water in which the bottom cannot be seen. It can also be triggered by things besides water as well, such as a deep, thick forest, drainage pipes that seem to go down into the ground for a long ways, or along a landscape for a long distance. It can even be triggered by things such as hallways in a large mansion or an old castle. those sorts of things are triggers for those who suffer from bathophobia. So there is definitely a link to thalassophobia with bathophobia. And if we bring things back to the Titanic, I'm sure that story could also be triggering, being 2,500 feet below the cold North Atlantic Ocean. Something that I thought was relevant to the concept of thalassophobia. It's a little bit of a phenomenon out there known as liminal spaces. Now, what these are generally photographs of empty malls with nobody in them after hours, before hours, parking lots, highways, devoid of people. And there seems to be this strange, nostalgic, yet eerie, kind of uncanny sensation, feeling that comes with viewing these images. Now, so here I am at the Sunnycrest Mall. I work here, not on paid time right now, about 15 minutes before my shift starts. And there is kind of a strange feeling that comes over you when you see a mall completely empty. Now, there are logical explanations for this, of course. Some saying that it's simply because these facilities were designed to hold significant amounts of people. So therefore, when you see them empty, your mind expects to see people, but yet there is not people present. So therefore, you can't help but to get this strange kind of nostalgic feeling, like you know this environment, you know what it's supposed to be, yet there's something missing from it. There's something different about it that you can't fully wrap your head around. Well, you can, but it naturally gives that sort of uneasy sensation, like this is normal, but there's something not right here. There's also an emotional side to liminal space, as besides the environmental side of it, such as some might call the space between the ending of a significant relationship, or switching from one job to the next, or moving from one place to the next and not fully adjusted yet. They call this an emotional liminal space, where you're caught in this emotional place in between, where you cannot move. You can move neither forward nor back, and you have to wait out this feeling until it molds you and shapes you into whatever other mindset you're going to turn into after this situation. Now, you're probably wondering how this relates to thalassophobia or the sea in any way, shape, or form. But if you think about it, the sea, ultimately, the water in general, is a big, ever-changing, expansive liminal space. As there are liminal space photographs that take place at pools and abandoned shipyards, things like that, or shipyards after hours, things like that. So if you think about it, the ocean really is a large liminal space. And if you don't do the right things to keep yourself alive and, get to safety, there stands a chance of never molding into any other mindset, anything else, except for the cold embrace of the sea. There are many stories on the screen and on the written page in which depict the perils of the sea. Now, these stories I do not believe are going anywhere and will continue to capture the imagination of viewers. they will also continue to aid in the development of thalassophobia. Now, let's see what others have to say.